Hi True Nature Medicine Tribe, it is Sarah Jane coming to you from my favorite place for as long as the connection holds. And I just wanted to kind of do a Friday wrap up for you. I'm in the company of beautiful horse medicine, and it's really a great time again to really just ground ourselves and look at the full moon that's coming up in Aries. This is really about the fire energy with all the chaos and the craziness going on in the world right now. This is really an invitation for us to really tap into our wild woman and to shake things up a little bit, to shake up the status quo of muting our voices as women, to really invoke the warrior women to come up and to really find the gifts of the rebel and to see the contrasts. You just have to look at American politics right now to see the great contrasts that are really looking at how do we liberate ourselves from knowing what's true and light for us, and be aware of the anger, you know, how we're using our potency at the moment in speaking our truth, that we can find ourselves, we can find and chart our North Star again by really staying true to what you're aligned to and what's coming up for you as a gift, and be fierce with your truths. You know, it really is time, I believe, to wake up and do the right thing. And right and wrong is there, you know, there is no right and wrong. There is only being true to yourself in being kind, stepping up, taking risks, you know, watching the power. You know, are you stepping into power, or are you powerless? And this really kind of brings me into a lot of what's been going on in my tribe this week. I've heard this a lot from my clients. It's kind of everywhere, is this deep sense of that suffering is somehow a punishment, and the flies are a punishment right now, but they're temporary, right? We can bat them off. And we have to look at the monkey business that we're buying into as ours, and looking at it that somehow you have done something wrong, or that there's regret or guilt or shame. And when we're standing in our truth, when we're going beyond judgment, the truth is that there is no pain there, right? It doesn't mean that life on a daily basis isn't hellacious at times, but it really looks at how you can tap into courage and really grow in your support of being your own cheerleader, looking at the growing pains as a gift, and finding your balance, because we have to recognize that we are not depressed, we are not in pain, we are not in shame, we're not in guilt. We are being given this gift, and I think the only way that we get out of suffering and pain is to know that there's something that's off, there's something out of congruence, and that it all moves through us. Just like there are clouds in the sky, sometimes the clouds are clear, sometimes there are no clouds, sometimes they're black clouds. But if you think about pain or depression or suffering or anxiety, or blame, or I can't get my words out, blame or shame or guilt or regret, they're temporary, right? You're the sky. You are greater than you give yourselves credit for. And just know that everything that comes to you is a gift if you can just step out and receive it. And you know, I believe that pain, the suffering, is trying to teach us wisdom and compassion and unshakable peace and joy, because those are the things that our soul's learning is from healing the suffering of the ego, of that small little self. And it always, you know, it's always trying to help us to come into the knowledge of knowing ourselves truly, of being in a body, right? Having an experience as being human. It's trying to take us to miracles. And this is not trick magic. There's no trickery in here. There's monkey business. But when you can truly know yourself as eternal and feel into the oneness that we're connected to all things, that's when we manifest a beautiful life. When we can stop and change ourselves, the suffering doesn't just go away. You actually start to appreciate that your higher self has come in that form to teach you that the world is not what you think. It's your thinking that needs to change. It's your belief systems. It's your stories that are asking you to realign, to get back on track to your North Star, to feel in order that you can heal. You can't heal what you can't feel. And we have to start looking at the stories that we're telling ourselves, where we're blocking that truth from coming through us. And you know, just think about a time, maybe it happened this week, maybe it happened this day, where we put our identity onto a thing, onto a diagnosis, or that we think that if we just choose this, that everything will change. Or if you're in a relationship, I mean, how many of you have been in a relationship where you just thought, this is what I needed, this is the last piece, and then suffering comes and it's boom, 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 and it just smacks you down, and things start to go really, really wrong. But you're so obsessed with that identity of what you think it has to look like. And I think what's important is to drop the illusion of what you think is important, that identification, and come home to yourself, to a place that you can't even imagine exists within you. But that's that power. It's that spiritual being in you having a physical experience. And that's your wisdom, that's your truth. And because the world is causing us to feel like we have no part in changing suffering, that's where we're either giving ourselves up or we're giving up the world. And that's not dying, you know. You know, that's lying into the truth of who you came here to be. And I know it hurts so much, but I want you to just start to look at how can you drop that illusion. I know that when you do, there's grieving, there's loss, it's sad, but that's the pain that's transformative. So look back on the times where you have truly allowed yourself to grieve. And it's in that fire of grief that you're burning away everything that is not absolutely true for you. You know, that's the first thing we have to allow ourselves, give ourselves permission to have. And then looking at how suffering changes us, because you know, this is the unnecessary suffering, where we're fearfully creating thoughts that torture and torment us. So, you know, the pure thought of suffering is the need of allowing things to be as they are and give up what you think they have to be, even if that's a diagnosis that you'd rather not have. It has to happen in order to feel and change and transmute. But that fear in the mind that we think this thing shapes and forms us, we don't need that, you know. And when you think about that, there's not a moment in my life that I actually have suffered if I get out of the story of it. You know, I'm in agony about the drought that's happening in South Africa right now. It's a suffering in my mind. I can't change it by suffering. So what if we could just drop the illusion? And there's lots of ways that you can do this, but two ways that I practice in dealing with the great suffering, the great separation sickness. And the first is to just surrender the false identity, the death of the false self. We're in the 7th house. This is a great time to do this, is to let go and know that your highest divine self is giving you that as a gift to teach you how to be beautiful in your happiness, not in your suffering. You know, this is where we can't keep driving a car when the lights are blinking at us and not stop and wonder why the lights are blinking in the first place. This is where we're driving ourselves to early graves, and it comes with a lot of sorrow when we allow ourselves to surrender into looking deep into the shadows. And you know, I think that everything, the fear that we're experiencing in the mind, always keeps us out of being present. When we're not in the moment, that's where we can be in the suffering, in the temporariness of it. I don't even know if that's a word, but you can live through that when you recognize that the fear is always about the future. You know, that is the greatest release of suffering, when you can just drop down into your true self and allow yourself to feel into the grief, feel into the loss, and just surrender your resistance to the universe being exactly as it is right now. So what if you could just sit right now? I'm sitting on a bench and I got a beautiful horse holding space, but I want you to just put your hand on your heart and just say, there is nothing I need or can do right now to change the universe as it exists right now. And would you be willing to just release your resistance to any and all of that you think is yours to change that actually isn't, and allow yourself to receive as everything is right now, and just surrender and surrender into the terrible diagnosis, into the loss of a loved one. As you surrender into that, you may be feeling out of choice right now, that you're out of control. Would you allow yourself to just cry and allow those tears that come up with every full moon to get in touch with your emotions and dissolve the illusion that things are going wrong for you? Because from your highest wise crone, your sage, the divine, exactly, you know, that's deep surrender of letting go, that you can let go of the resistance and just let it go. And then surrender your fear of what is to come. Just surrender it all. Just give it over to the universe. Just give it away. Because you cannot experience a future you haven't had. And that's how we stop ourselves. So come into this moment, be present, and allow the grief to come up and clear and purify and transmute into something beautiful that gives you a sense of relaxation and gives you a sense of space, so that that voice that's telling you that there's something you need to be afraid of, and there's something that's going to be painful, and there's something that you're going to have deep suffering about, when you drop into your heart and you just allow yourself to trust that you're exactly where you need to be right now, and you surrender into that divine trust that starts with you trusting yourself. Trust that. Just trust that. You know, even if your belief system is that the world is dangerous, even if we have no idea what tomorrow holds, stop living in the past or going into the future. To stop the presence and just surrender to the moment, that this is the most beautiful moment. It's yours to take. And everything that you think in those moments of fear and panic and anxiety and depression, you got to the truth of that right now, of whatever that situation was, by being in the present and releasing your fear of the future. When you do that, everything will start to change. You know, just tap into that and just recognize that anything that you're going through right now that is painful, that is suffering of immensity, it's temporary. It's temporary. It's not here. It's here as a gift to show you what is the next step for you, where you can step into your truth. And that's where everything starts to change. And you can say, thank God. And it doesn't mean that you don't get to feel the crap and the panic and the anxiety and the depression. But it's not your identity. It's not you. And I feel all of you. I feel all of you that I've seen this week. I feel all of you, those of you that have reached out to me. And I know that when you suffer, I suffer, because we're connected. But when you decide, when you choose to claim your stake and acknowledge that this is temporary, you can surrender into that. And you can have those moments of deep, deep grief. Allow your body to feel that, so that that space of relaxation, that space of being present in the how can show up, and you can start to manifest beyond the suffering. Because when you do that, you set others free, that they can tap into their fierce warrior women, and they can use this full moon in Aries that is all about the fire. Think about the phoenix rising. Feel about how you can invoke your wild woman that you've been maybe too afraid to tap into, that feminine divine aspect of presence that's sometimes gentle and sometimes is so freaking relentless, that she's willing to remove obstacles and move you into a deeper state of presence and contribution and allowance and honoring and love and gratitude, so that no matter what monkey business is going on around you, you don't have to go off in your mind into the what if, and what's going to happen, into the fear, into the shame, into the anxiety. Everything is changing right now. And I just invite you to shake it up with me. Tap into your wild woman. Listen to her heart, because she never lies. She's always there to show you how to shine and be in your truth and be a truth teller, so that the fear of whatever is stopping you from being that light, that shining beacon of light for others to show up and stand in their truth, they can do it because you are growing through the pain. They're called growing pains for a reason. If they didn't hurt, they wouldn't, you know, how else does your body get your attention when it's giving you the whisper touch, the breath of the breeze, you know? It doesn't mean it's going to go away, but at least that way you get to know that you're not what you've identified yourself to be. Those are the gifts of the pain, of the depression, of the anxiety, of the uncertainty that are there to get you back on track so that you can live toward what you envision as a bright, beautiful future, not just for you, but for everyone around you, for the planet, for the animals, for the earth. To ground that, and I really invite you to ground that into your body, into the core of the earth, and connect with the wise mother, because she is so wise and resilient, and she's not giving up on us. So what can you do today that you can shake up your status quo, shake up things around you, and just be aware of where are you giving your power away to something that is identified, that you've identified as bigger or more important than you and what you came here to do. And that could be money, that could be a lover, that could be a child, that could be a business. Stop the monkey business. Listen to the truth of who you came here to be. And know that you are going anyway. And the sooner you surrender to all the reasons and justifications why you have decided that you can't, the sooner you set yourself free. So use the Aries, and use Aries too. You know, she was a warrior that was willing to cut down everything that stood in her way from being the truth teller that she came here to be. Use this time, use this energy of the full moon. I probably will do a new full moon ceremony sometime over the weekend, if I get the time and if that's something that you want. But that's how you set yourself free of your pain, of the suffering, is find and recognize and own the gifts of your rebel, your wild woman, the animal inside of you that is powerful. She's the one that's going to set you free. And when you get to step into that, you will be unstoppable. And I can't wait to see what you get to start to choose to show up as the torch, as the flame, that you inspire other people because of your courage and your brave heart. So go and have an amazing rest of your day wherever you are, and know that you're loved. Know that this is, even though it might seem the most untruthful thing right now, you are so loved and held and supported, and all you have to do is reach out and burn, baby, burn that, let that fire in your belly burn, and may you go forth and tell the truth as only you can, because remember, the world isn't waiting for someone like you. The world is waiting for you and what only you can give to the world. Have a beautiful weekend. Sending you lots of love. Bye. Mwah.